Have you heard about metabolic syndrome? Well, it could be affecting your health and your weight. And we're here with Dr. Emily Cooper from the Diabesity Research Foundation, also the author of the Metabolic Storm.
Good to see you again,
be
Dr.
here.
Cooper. Let's start with the very fundamental question. What is metabolic syndrome and why should we care about it?
Well, metabolic syndrome is a high-risk medical condition, and it doesn't fit the stereotypes. So we're all at risk, and there's some important clues that we need to pay attention to. Metabolic syndrome is a term that's used to describe a group of specific health conditions that occur simultaneously: elevated blood pressure, elevated blood sugar or insulin levels, and abnormal cholesterol. So if you have all three of these conditions, then you have metabolic syndrome, which means that you're at greater risk for heart attacks, strokes, and type 2 diabetes.
Yikes. And you say you don't have to be overweight to have this.
No, and that's one of the reasons why it doesn't fit the stereotype. It can actually affect people at any weight. So while it does occur at greater incidence in people with high body weight, up to 25% of adults with normal weight are thought to be affected also. So you can't tell from the outside what's going on inside. That's why it's so important to know your numbers, and it can be overwhelming because there are these three areas that you have to pay attention to. So when it comes to stroke risk, that's your blood pressure, and your blood pressure should be below 120/80. If it's above that, it's either pre-hypertension or full-blown hypertension. When it comes to your blood sugar, that should be below 100 fasting, and there's a marker, HbA1c, which is an average, which should be below 5.7. And then with your cholesterol levels, the total should be under 200, the LDL, the bad cholesterol, should be under 100, and triglycerides should be under 150. And we'll post these numbers on our foundation website and maybe King 5 so that people have an idea. This is a graphic that kind of shows, and it's overwhelming to look at all the numbers, so we'll post it later, but it's really important to know where you stand.
There was a time in my life when I had elevated numbers in blood sugar and blood pressure and weight, and everything was trending up, but my family doc never said, hey, you have metabolic syndrome. He was just like, hey, maybe eat less and exercise more.
And so many people haven't even heard of this syndrome, and yet it is so common.
So how do you know if you have it?
30 to 40% of adults are affected, actually. And children, too, should not be left out, because your child could have a very healthy diet, be very physically active, and yet if there are genetics for diabetes, strokes, heart attacks, or if the mom had gestational diabetes, kids should actually be tested as well. And so that's really important not to leave the children out.
Okay. And this is a test that you have to have a specific doctor do
the important thing is, like, take an action. Know your numbers. Often people know, oh, I have high blood pressure, but they don't know where they stand on these other two areas, cholesterol and blood sugar levels. So first thing is take action, get screened and see, because if you treat these things individually, it can sometimes backfire. For example, there are cholesterol medications that flare up diabetes risk. There are some blood pressure medications that aggravate your cholesterol. So if you're not paying attention, you don't realize that these are three components of one big syndrome. Then you can, not really treat it appropriately. There are new medications that actually target the underlying problem and resolve issues in all three areas, so that's what's great. And I do advocate healthy lifestyle, eat whole foods, all food groups, enjoy physical activity, but whatever you do, don't diet, because repeated diet cycles actually backfires and increases your risk of metabolic syndrome.
Okay.
So keep that in mind.
All right. Dr. Emily Cooper, good to see you as usual.
Nice to see you too.
Okay.